Always my least favorite moment is when we start this thing and we have to figure out what to say until people ask us questions. So, what's been going on? I was in the Philippines last week. That was a blast. Haven't been there since before COVID. I did a big concert there. Saw a bunch of my friends. Went to Puerto Galera, which is a beautiful beach island there. And I don't know, I just had an altogether awesome time. I did get ripped off though. Yeah, you have to be careful in the Philippines. Like people rip you off there a lot.
People rip you off in New York City.
But it's like way worse there. It's so, like in the U.S. I don't get ripped off very often. It's like pretty rare. But in the Philippines, like everyone I know gets ripped off all the time. It's just such a common thing. You have to really be on the lookout in a very different way. Yeah. Like I was talking to multiple people who were there that week, and they were like, "Yeah, I got ripped off for this thing." It's just like, yeah, people are just kind of always looking to rip you off. It's weird. It's 'cause there's just this different kind of mentality.
Like a tourist area, or
no, even other Filipinos.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So one of my close friends there, she's earned a bit of money through me booking her on different cruise ships and stuff. And so she did these two different investments. She invested in like a bus company and she invested in a restaurant. And both times she got ripped off. She lost all of the money. You know? And they made contracts and stuff, and they just didn't pay her.
Wow.
And I bought something online there, and then they just never delivered the thing and blocked me everywhere and just kind of ran. And then I left a guitar cable at the venue, and it's an expensive guitar cable. It's like a $130 guitar cable. This is the venue where I was performing at. And so I thought, I'll try and get the guitar cable back. So I contacted the guy, found out who was in charge of the sound there, and I wrote him, and when I wrote him, he blocked me.
Wow.
So like he was just trying to not give me my guitar cable back. So he thought, if I just block him on the internet, maybe he like won't find it. So I actually had to track down a friend of this guy's to get the guitar cable back.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me. So anyway. So as far as hair, are you gonna have another hair transplant, you think, in your life? Do you think you'll ever have another one?
Me?
Yeah.
I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've got this nape hair, and this is going to probably open up a lot of questions. We're not supposed to use nape hair, but I hate my nape hair. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Like, who likes their nape hair?
Yeah. It's like weird. It can actually, I have so much of it, and it's always been that way that they have to kind of like, literally like edge it like a front hairline in the back, and I'm like, wow, that's like too low. So the last procedure, the one that actually changed my life and, gave me that hairline I've always wanted, we used a bunch of nape hair.
Wow.
And now I'm like, you know what? Why not just grab the rest of the nape hair? You know what I mean? I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, now that I'm happy, it's really a matter of just clearing the time on my schedule and doing it. But let's make sure we do either something on YouTube Live or something when I have it. So that way, you can be there with me.
Well, so you have really strong nape hair.
Well, I don't know if it's strong, but it's usable. My overall hair is pretty soft to begin with. It's workable. I always say on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 5.5, which is like the low end of the scale for donor hair.
Okay.
But it looks really natural in the hairline, which I like.
Yeah, it looks like your hairline looks ridiculously natural. It's so good.
So now it's literally like painting a Rembrandt, if that's possible to do, and then just putting a little bit of more, kind of like detail in there.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't said this any time in my life, said it with you a few times since I've had my hairline done, but I'm like really happy. That's what this is all about, So I'm not going to, potentially, risk something going awry, which it won't, obviously, where I'll have this done at Dr. McGrath's clinic. But I'm not really excited about it because it's something I don't think I need. I guess you could call it boredom or greed. But yeah, I'm up for it.
Wow, cool. Yeah, I figure that at some point in my life, I'll have another hair transplant as well. Bob Lully says, I'm taking 30 milligrams oral minoxidil and 5 milligrams dutasteride. I'm still losing ground. Is there anything I can do or take PRP? Whoa, that's wild.
Yeah.
30 milligrams oral minoxidil and 5 milligrams dutasteride and still losing ground?
I'm not a doctor, but I don't know about that dosing. I've never heard that before.
I've never heard of that much, taking that much of either of those things.
I would just try 1 milligram of finasteride, maybe like a half a milligram of dutasteride.
Like in addition.
Yeah, like combined, and 5 milligrams of minoxidil. That's
No, but
pretty much.
he's already taking 30 milligrams.
I know, but I'm not saying that's the reason, but I've never heard that before. That
He says, I'm from Spain. It's common here. Well, it's common there in Spain to take 5 milligrams of dutasteride and 30 milligrams of oral minoxidil for hair loss.
I've never heard that myself. I
Yeah.
I don't have any comment because I don't know how to respond because I've never heard that dose before.
I've got one friend from Spain, and he's had a bunch of hair transplants, but yeah, he definitely isn't taking that. That's wild. I don't know what you would do. I mean, that's kind of like the strongest stuff available, It's
Yeah.
still losing ground. So have you had hair transplants already, Bob? Have you ever had a hair transplant? So I guess we should find that out. If this is like you're losing ground of the transplanted hair or you're losing ground of the non-transplanted hair, and how fast are you losing ground? So hopefully, I guess you're taking some photos like regularly, like time-stamped photos. He said, I've had 2 FUTs. So Bob, do you feel like the transplanted hair is also falling out as well? Or is it just the hair around it? He's had 2 FUTs.
And how old are you when you respond to that?
Yeah, how old are you as well, Bob? Currently, and when did you have those 2 FUTs? When was your last surgery? I'd love to know that too. I mean, she says, I'm losing native hair and from the transplanted hair.
So both
losing
native hair
both.
and
Wow.
transplanted hair.
He says he's 32.
What are the, what is your physician, your hair surgeon, what are his comments on it? What are some suggestions? Have you seen your doctor who did your transplant? I'm interested.
Yeah, what did your doctor who did the transplant, have you talked to him or her since the surgery to let them know, and what are their thoughts on that? I mean, I guess fortunately, if you've had 2 FUT surgeries, you should be able to still get FUE surgeries done. So, yeah, I mean, you should have, maybe another even FUT surgery in the bank. And how's your donor hair as well? Is the donor hair looking really good? It's just the hair on top that's having trouble. If you have great donor hair, you still should have a few surgeries available.
Yeah.
Bob says they've said I should take dutasteride high dose and oral minoxidil high dose. Oh, so that's what they told him. I guess he told his hair transplant surgeon that he's losing ground, and they told. So since you've been on that high dose oral minoxidil and oral dutasteride, like how long have you been on that for? And are you taking time-stamped photos of that time? So if you've been on it for 6 months, do you have like 6 months ago and now you're looking at it again? Donor hair is thinning. Now I have DUPA now confirmed, so I don't know if I will be able to get surgery again.
Yeah, so that's an issue.
What is DUPA?
It's diffuse thinning alopecia.
Oh, gotcha.
So you got to be very careful. I don't want to give any bad news. We have to be very cautious if your donor hair is thinning. Just make sure you get all the blood work, make sure you're healthy, and make sure you don't do any more hair transplants until we come up with a solution.
Wow, okay. He says, I've been on meds for 4 years and take pics every 3 months. Wow.
That's good.
I mean, you're doing all the right stuff. Man, I'm so sorry to hear that, Bob. Man, doesn't sound really good for you. Yeah, and if you're, like Steve said, if you're having diffuse thinning all around, which that makes sense that now that your hair transplant is also not doing very well. God, that's super bad. But I don't know what to tell you. Any thoughts? I don't have any advice really.
We just you have to, now, what you're doing is, because you have that diffuse thinning, is we have to use you as a guinea pig, and we've got to try all different types of dosing. And you're doing a great job of documentation with the photos. So when you visit your physician and you're documenting what, the dosing, then we just have to keep changing that dosing to see what works for you. So it might be a 1 milligram finasteride, a 1 milligram dutasteride, a 5 milligram. This is just an example.
Yeah.
So that we see how that looks for 6 months. And because your body may, may respond better to a certain kind of cocktail, so to say.
Makes sense.
You are an anomaly. I'm sorry to say that. It's not common. But I am very, very cautious with diffuse thinners. As you know, a lot of females are diffuse thinners. It's called a female pattern. And the DUPA is, used more on the men, but it's still a pattern of diffuse thinning. So, we don't want to do any more hair surgery anytime soon, and we want to try to fix that first. So walking in there with those photos to your physician and trying these different things is the best way to go about it. Also using everything else, laser, the proper laser products, devices, also, exosome injections and things like that. We got to try everything we can to see what you respond to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe an exosome sting, laser helmet, might help a little bit, especially for diffuse thinners. It seems to be more helpful. Great to hear from you. What's going on, Killian? Killian, there, the hair chemist, says, two of the greats of the industry. Thank you so much, Killian. You're so sweet.
Thank you.
So Mambo just asked, what is Locklab? So Locklab, we rebranded the channel. Obviously, it used to be called Hair Loss Hope, and so I've been taking this combination pill of finasteride, oral minoxidil, biotin for about 5 years, and so have my brothers, and we all reacted really well to it. We got pretty much all our friends on it. It was formulated as a combination pill by my surgeon, Dr. Daniel McGrath, and it was never a branded thing. There was just a compounding pharmacy here in Austin that was making it for Dr. Dan's personal clients. And yeah, my brothers and I, we were like, hey, this worked great for us. We'd love to make this available to everyone. And so we decided to brand it and call it Locklab. And so now we're able to sell it, to make it available to everyone. So now way more people are able to get on it and have these awesome results that we've had from it. So we've rebranded the channel Locklab as well to go with the name of our brand and combination therapy. That's the answer. Danny says, I'm 17 and in Norwood 4. Is it possible for me to get dutasteride?
So you need to see your physician, your family physician. You don't have to share with us if you've gotten all the way through puberty yet at this point, but that's not for a hair surgeon to determine. So you have to work very closely with your family physician to find out if it's safe for you to take that. Then once he's determined that it's safe, because you have to be through puberty all the way, then you can start to get on these medications, which I would highly recommend, and that would be up to you and your physician on the dosing. Okay.
So Danish Body says, is it possible to have hair transplant with seborrheic dermatitis?
It's seborrheic dermatitis.
Seborrhea, okay.
So what you want to do is treat that first. That's something from a dermatology perspective. That's a skin condition. That's not a hair condition. The answer is no. You want to treat any skin condition first. Make sure that that's under control. That may be an issue when you're considering having a transplant. We want to see if it's active versus inactive. A lot of doctors will do the surgery if it's inactive, and then be very cautious in moving forward, keeping you on those medications that you can get from a dermatologist.
And Danny says, I've consulted with Dr. McGrath. He recommended the finasteride, but I'm 17 and Norwood 4 going to 5. Where can I get brand name dutasteride?
Dutasteride, you can get it from these compounding pharmacies in Austin. You can speak to Dr. McGrath about it. I'm assuming that you guys have determined that you're all the way through puberty, so that you're safe. But you can ask McGrath Medical, if it's okay for you to take that and see what his thoughts are.
Danish Body says, why doctors advise to stop finasteride before planning a child? Is there any side effects? Doctors who advise that, I just think they don't know what they're talking about. They're just uneducated on finasteride, because there's no issue with really, unless you're having actual issues with getting pregnant, potentially, like there shouldn't be an issue. I've fathered 2 children while taking finasteride. My brother fathered a child while taking finasteride. Steve was probably on finasteride as well when he fathered his child. So all of our kids are very healthy and doing very well.
Well, doctors are living in a world of fear now for litigation and liability issues in regards to medical malpractice. A lot of them run in fear their whole entire careers. They don't want to take responsibility for anything that can possibly go wrong. Nothing can go wrong. David is 100% correct. And I know this entire industry. I know doctors, business people, salespeople, nurses. I've never heard of a problem. But there is a small, slight chance that you could have a little less ejaculative fluid, not less sperm. But once anybody hears that you could potentially have a little less ejaculative fluid, that could be an issue with someone that thinks that that could affect your ability to get your wife pregnant or your significant other pregnant. So that's the reason for that.
Patrick says, what medication would you recommend for alopecia? I'm investing for a hair transplant in the future.
What type of alopecia? Do you know?
Yeah, what type of alopecia? If it's androgenetic alopecia, which is typical male pattern baldness, then we would definitely recommend oral minoxidil and finasteride, which is why that's what we sell through Locklab as a combination pill, which is 5 milligrams oral minoxidil, 1.1 milligrams of finasteride. So that seems to just do basically everyone who gets on it has awesome results. So all of our patients have great results with
Amazing product.
Mm-hmm. So, and if you don't live in the U.S., Patrick, then we would just recommend that you try and find those medications as separate medications in your own country if they're not available as a compounded pill like Locklab is. Mambo says, any promising hair cloning news in 2024? I'm always hearing about things, but I've been hearing about hair cloning potential for 10 years now, at least. It doesn't really look like it's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, there were three.
But everybody says that it's going to. So
there were three main players, and the one is called Interstigex out of the UK. I've researched it recently. It's gone belly up. It's out of business. Histogen in San Diego had some promises. I didn't see much of a difference in any of the photos. They're belly up, they're out of business. The last one is Adirond's Research, which is basically a creation of Bosley, in my opinion, to create a bunch of views and clicks, to bring you into it, to see what's going on. And then they're going to, of course, tell you it's down the pipeline and get you ready for a hair transplant. Unfortunately, that's not good news, and I apologize for that.
Denny says, why do people take finasteride if dutasteride is better? Do you want to answer this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So dutasteride is not better. It depends on if someone needs more of the alpha-5 reductases to be kind of closed down, if I could use that terminology. So what happens is your testosterone travels through an enzyme called the alpha-5 reductase and converts into DHT. For about 95% of the patients out there, maybe more, I'd say maybe 96 or 97, the finasteride does the job enough to protect the hair. For some patients that they don't respond as well, we will switch over to dutasteride. However, now we constantly talk about side effects with finasteride. Those chances go up with dutasteride. So you want to be very careful. You don't want to just automatically assume that dutasteride, because it closes more of the 5-alpha reductase enzyme, that it's better, because that's just not true. But if you're someone that doesn't respond to finasteride, then we want to explore dutasteride.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the first choice for everyone should be finasteride.
Yeah.
That should be the number one first choice for everybody.
I think the industry, and this is not your fault out there, I'm one of you. David is one of you. We're all looking for the next thing. This microneedling thing a few years ago that took off on the internet. Oh my God, we can just do microneedling and put some minoxidil and everything will penetrate. It's all a fad. It's all just an online thing. I've been watching this industry for over 30 years. So we all want something better. We all want a cure for baldness. We all want to grow hair on a bald man's head. I've been wanting to do that since I was 19. So you're not alone.
Danny says, Steve, worked with any DUPA patients? I think I'm developing DUPA also. McGrath said I have some retrograde.
Yeah, so again, like this unfortunate patient that we're talking to on this live chat right here, DUPA patients are very challenging. We want to hold off on doing hair transplants, and we want to try anything and everything we can safely to help make sure that, number one, we're not losing any more hair. Number 1A, it's not thinning in the donor zone. If it's thinning in the donor zone, and that's determined through photography, you're not a candidate for a hair transplant from an ethical standpoint, okay? The good news about DUPA is that if we can find something you respond to, guess what? You may get all your hair back because it's a different type of loss than a male pattern. but it's enduring. It takes time. It takes a lot of photography, and it takes a lot of different variations most of the time with these cocktails that we prescribe in order to find out what works best for you. Hey, listen, I'm not feeling sorry for myself, but for me it was a challenge, this whole hair loss thing, since a very young age. The only thing I'm really thankful for is I had decent donor hair and I had a male pattern. If you don't have a male pattern, then we have challenges on our hands. That's why we struggle with females, because it's just they're not candidates for hair transplants.
Mr. Body says, once in an interview with Dr. McGrath, telling about his last child planning, he said he stopped finasteride 4 months before planning a child. Why McGrath said that?
Yeah.
So I think there is a couple different reasons. So one, finasteride has been shown for you to have less ejaculate fluid. So that is a thing. So it could potentially make it a little bit harder to get pregnant on it, from what I understand anyway. The other thing is, but also plenty of people get pregnant on taking finasteride. That's like we said, I fathered both my children with no issue. Steve did, my brother did. It's lots of people get pregnant on finasteride. But that also said, I think we're kind of learning over time. I mean, Dr. McGrath's always learning. We're always learning. I've said a lot of things in videos over the years that I now disagree with. And I now think, oh no, I wasn't informed as well as I could have been. And I'm sure that will be the case now as well. Like, we don't always get it right. And we're kind of, we're all just like learning a little bit, and there's more studies that are coming out all the time where it's becoming more and more clear what these medications do and don't do.
Yeah, he was a little bit older for the last child. Sometimes when you get a little bit older and you still want to have a child, you're even though you're like, a world-renowned hair surgeon, your mind gets clouded with, hey, listen, I better get off anything. That's not just including finasteride, but I mean, not drink alcohol, go to the organic food. I want to have one more kid, and I'm this age, I better watch myself. I think that was part of that.
Mm-hmm. You says, I'm new here. Would you mind sharing a recap of both your hair journey and if you had anything done at all? Yeah, we've had a lot of stuff done. So I have a lot of videos about all this stuff, and a lot of my surgeries are posted on here on YouTube. But I've had, I think it's 5 hair transplants now. I was around in Norwood 5 when I was 23 or so. I'm 39 now, and yeah, I mean, when I first started into my first hair transplant, I think I had 3 FUT and 2 FUE surgeries. And yeah, so I've just been through all of that, and I've been on and off all the different medications, finasterides and minoxidils topically and orally and all that sort of thing. And I'm now taking Locklab. It's been the most beneficial thing for me, which is a combination pill of 1.1 milligrams finasteride, 5 milligrams minoxidil orally. And yeah, it's kind of where I'm at. And my hair is looking pretty good. Steve's had 7+ surgeries, some scalp reductions. Started going bald when he was 17 or 18 years old, and was pretty bald by his early 20s. Wore a wig for
7 years.
Wore a wig for 7 years. Now he's got some hair. So that's that's the brief recap, I think. Danny says Steve is taking RU 58841. I heard. Are you taking that, Steve?
No. I might have commented on it. That's something that I've been hearing about for years and years and years, and I've heard some positive feedback online about it. I have made some comments out there in social media that if it works, and if we've got some photos that we can kind of compare and take a look at, I'll be the first one to be the biggest fan of anything that can help patients with hair loss. So that's kind of like it's kind of like a niche-y kind of back room kind of product that I've been hearing some things about, and I just don't have any data. None of the doctors that I work with in my network use it, and I don't really have any patient examples. So if you are using it and you have some good before and afters, be happy to put them out there. Send them to David, send them to me, because again, all we're trying to do is just get good stuff out there to help anybody that responds to these kind of treatments.
Mr. Body says, is every ABHRS and ISHRS competent? Can you legends recommend any hair transplant surgeons in Pakistan? So from what I understand, for the ABHRS, you actually do have to do some written tests, and there are some quite stringent tests that you have to go through and to qualify to be part of the ABHRS. But the ISHRS, I think it's mainly just a fee that you pay as a surgeon to be part of it. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah. So the ISHRS is what we call the governing body. That is, I like it. It kind of sets up like conferences and helps legitimize the industry. But any doctor that wants to get involved with just learning or exploring, or maybe they do hair transplants as a part-time thing with some sort of a machine, those guys can easily purchase a little stamp on their website, the ISHRS member, for, I don't know if it's $250 or $500 at this point. The ABHRS is an actual board that has board members that will do testing, both verbally and written, and they do require the things that I would like to see and I help patients online with. Make sure your surgeon is showing you his actual work. Make sure you've had 10 cases documented. Make sure you've got 5 videos of comb throughs. These are things which you need to provide along with a few years experience to the ABHRS in order to be board certified. So in Pakistan, no different than here, I would want to visit clinics that are board certified with the ABHRS. I would want to see their work done by their hands. I would ask for a certain amount of photos of the before and afters that represented a case like myself. And I'd also like to see some videos with some comb throughs so I can see the spacing of the hairline. That is what I call my cheat sheet checklist.
Do you have any go-to surgeons in Pakistan?
I do not.
Okay, yeah, I don't know any really that like.
I apologize.
It's hard for me to generally like recommend many people just because I'm kind of weary of that, just based on some of my other experiences I can get into at some point. John says, how many grafts do you think you've had extracted, David? I would say probably around 12,000 is my guess. It'd be like somewhere between like 10 and 13,000 grafts is probably my guess for how many I've had extracted. So, hello guys, I'm from Bosnia. I did hair transplant 13 months ago in Sarajevo. I was Norwood 3 vertex. My hairline is good, but I'm not very happy with crowns, still thin. They told me 18 months for crown. No, I don't really think. I think after 13 months, you pretty much should have seen. I don't think you're going to see a lot of difference between 13 months and 18 months in your crown. I mean, what do you think, Steve?
Well, I've done videos on this on Dr. McGrath Medical. I actually put together a video that calls it the hairline versus the crown, and I use a cornfield as an example. So the cornfield, if you are in Nebraska, the United States, there's cornfields there, and you stop your pickup truck and your Labrador Retriever runs out of the truck and goes into the cornfield and chases a bird. He's lost, he's gone. He's barking, you can't see him at all. It looks so thick that you can't even walk in there. If you fly a drone over the top to find your dog, it will look so spacey and you'll see all the spaces from that helicopter view. That is the difference between the hairline and the crown. I have to warn all patients that have crowns done that they are going to love their hairlines. It is going to change their life. They are going to look younger and better, and it is going to frame their face, and they're going to go from a bald crown to a thinning crown. If they have a thinning crown, they're going to go from a thinning crown to a less thinning crown. All patients need to plan on 2 procedures, but in the crown, it's more challenging, helicopter view, and we have to put it in a circular pattern. So the follicles have to be placed in an arrangement that doesn't create that cornfield look when you look into it in the hairline. So as you look into David's hairline, which is phenomenal, I love it, and you look into my hairline, you're looking directly in, you're going, you guys look pretty good, right? But if we put our heads down and we had thinning in the crown, but we've had hair transplants there, you'd be able to see space.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to disappoint you. The doctors.
The hardest place to get.
Crowns are tough.
Thick.
Crowns are tough, and you have to have realistic expectations. And you say to yourself, "Well, come on, I spent all this money, and then why did it grow in the hairline? It didn't grow in the crown. Yeah. It's growing in the crown. It's just not going to be as thick of an appearance."
The good news is that concealer products are easiest to use in the crown, and they look the best in the crown. So using a little of some fibers or some derm match in the crown or both together can make a huge difference super easily in the crown. It looks very natural. So it's also the easiest place to fix with concealer products. So that's kind of the good news.
And SMP as well.
And SMP as well, yeah. versus in the hairline, it's much harder to have it look natural. He also says, great channel, I learned priceless information from you. So thank you so much, appreciate that. We're happy to help. Here's Life says, what are your thoughts on Killian or hair chemist getting 6,500 grafts just for hairline? Doesn't it seem like a waste to go from Norwood 2 to 1 with 6,500 grafts? I guess my thought, one, I think anyone should be able to do kind of anything that they want. So I don't think it's really my place to judge someone in that way. But I guess the other thing is that, if Killian's a smart guy, I know Killian, and if he is already stabilized his hair loss and is not losing a lot more hair and already has great donor hair, which he does, then why would he, and he can afford it, then why would he not get exactly the hairline that he wants? So that's what I kind of think, right? Someone stabilized their loss, has great donor hair available, and wants to have a better hairline, like, God bless them.
Well, I just think everybody's different. Everybody has different kind of, building blocks for success and expectations for success. I don't know who this is, but if he does have strong donor hair and enough space to fit 6,500 grafts, why not? Yeah.
Yeah. The hair guy just says, just ordered. I'm assuming he's talking about Locklab. He just ordered Locklab.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Great decision.
Happy to have you on board. And it says, will I get a shed and for how long? What's your...
No, I don't think you will. I mean, anytime you do anything with a hair follicle, there's always a possibility that the thinner telogen hairs will be forced out in place and replaced by anagen hairs. That it's always possible. You may see a little bit more shedding before you see hair growth, but that's very rare with an oral medication. That normally happens more with females that have diffuse thinning and use the medication. They seem to have that issue. Men, because of the finasteride, and that's more of a DHT thing, they don't seem to have that. So I wouldn't expect that to happen.
None of my personal friends who've gotten on Locklab have mentioned that to me, that they've had issues with a lot of shedding. So I know when I got on it, I don't think I did. I think I only noticed my hair getting better. But I feel like if you were going to, it would be for less than 3 months anyway, because after about 3 months, you should start.
Yeah, and it
start getting stronger.
It's not significant. Like all these shedding things and hair shock and all that. There's very rarely ever did I see any, even guys that have hair shock from hair transplants. Although a few case by cases are pretty significant. Usually it's like 20% of the hair, and that happens maybe like 15% of the time.
So Mr. Body says, I'm not talking about the main pregnancy thing. I'm talking about child health and his organs disabilities.
No.
I heard from doctors, Meadle from the UK, that finasteride can cause child disability. Yeah, that's totally not true.
Well, so just so we're on the same page, okay? Just so we're on the same page, and I think we know this, but if a female, if your wife or your significant other ingests the pill, it potentially can cause deformalities to the genitalia of a male fetus. That is the serious problem that gets blown out of proportion with this medication. Yes. I don't mean to joke about it, but I tell all the men, take the medication if you're trying to get your wife pregnant or she is pregnant, and put it in a tool shed in the toolbox. Okay, keep it away from anywhere. Although I'm sure your wife is not going to start taking the pills, your pills, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's never been a case. Now I say this, I'm not a doctor, I don't have any medical education, but I'm pretty passionate about this. That, to my knowledge, in the world, in 19 years, there's never been a case of a birth defect caused by the male taking the finasteride and then inseminating the female, and then she gets pregnant. That's never happened.
It's not a thing. John S. says, how do you get over the regret of catching hair loss super early? Starting meds, being convinced to get off them, losing a lot of hair, getting transplants, but annoyed you could have kept native density. How do you get over that regret? I mean, I guess, gosh, I have a lot of, I guess I have a lot of things I wish I would have done differently in my life, such as like taking my dad on a cruise before he killed himself, basically. It's a good one. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that I wish I would have done differently, but like we don't get a chance to live life twice that we know of, right? So you're gonna make lots of mistakes. I've made more mistakes in life than anyone I know of. Like I've lost millions of dollars. I've made tons of mistakes. So I mean, living with like having regrets as a thing that causes you pain is just completely useless to me. It's useless. It's like, and I always think of that, the serenity prayer. Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And if it's something that you cannot change, you have to just let it go. So that's my thoughts. Hair's Life says, Killian got 6 hair transplants just for the hairline. He says that finasteride and minoxidil lose effectiveness after 2 years, and we will continue to bald. Is this true? I don't really think that. I mean, everyone reacts differently to medication, but I know my brothers Paul and Mark have both been on the finasteride minoxidil combo pill for the last. We've got the dog here. They've both been on it for the last 5 years, and they've not lost any ground on the finasteride combo Locklab pill. So they've each been on it for 5 years each. So I know a lot of other guys that have been on finasteride for many, many years and not lost any ground on it. So I definitely don't think that's the case for a lot of people. But everyone, some people's hair loss, genes are stronger. I think my genes are more towards losing hair than my brother's. What is your regimen for preventing hair loss for both of you? Medication, other routines you both want to share? So we both take Locklab. That's the main thing that we do, which is the combo pill. It's listed on our website, locklab.co. All the ingredients are listed there. That's the main thing. I still do a laser helmet. I've got the Iris Store. They're like top level helmet, and I use that whenever I'm home. I use it at least every other day when I'm home. And so that's pretty much it. I also use the Intelligent shampoo. I'm not associated with them whatsoever, but that's the best shampoo that I've found. It just makes my hair feel thick after I use it just because of whatever's in it. I don't know if it does anything to stop hair loss, but I really like that shampoo. So that's pretty much it. Danish Hair's Life. Danish, take saw palmetto and pumpkin oil. It's in Locklab. Locklab doesn't have saw palmetto and pumpkin oil, but from the more we've been learning, and I've been learning, I don't really think that makes much of a difference, the saw palmetto and pumpkin oil. So I want to know, did you take creatine when you were both younger or now? So I take creatine now. I didn't when I was younger, but I've actually started taking creatine over the last about year. And I've read some of the studies with creatine. Yes, it's been shown that creatine has caused some amount of hair loss, but that was with huge doses of creatine. I think it was like in the 20 grams plus range, right? Have you looked into that stuff, Steve?
Yeah, I took creatine when I was younger, but not now.
Okay, so I take it now, but I only take about 3 grams. 3 grams a day. It's like 2 or 3 grams. Sometimes I might go to 5 grams, but they're not super high doses of creatine. I think you're going to be fine as long as you're not taking like a ton of creatine.
Don't overdo anything.
Yeah. John S. says, Doc, thoughts on Dr. Lou Penzula. Do you know him?
No.
I don't know him either.
What state or city or?
Follow both of you from the last few years. Now, whenever I saw both of you, it's a friend feeling for me. Aw, that's really sweet.
Very cool. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thanks so much, Danish. So John says 10 to 13,000 grafts. How is that possible when most doctors stop at max 8,000? 10 to 13,000 is crazy. Yeah, so, okay, well, let's kind of like look at it, right? If you use FUT surgery and FUE surgery, I think, I really feel like, from what I can tell, that is the way to maximize the number of grafts, good grafts that you can get. Because when you're doing FUT surgery, so let's say you do, like a major FUT surgery would be probably about 3,000 grafts. So that's like 3,000 grafts. Pretty much everyone has at least 2 FUT surgeries in them, but a lot of people do 3 large surgeries. So let's say I do 3 FUT surgeries. So first 2 are like pretty major FUT surgeries, and I take out 3,000 grafts per surgery. Third one is a little bit smaller, and I do, let's say, like 2,250 on that one, right? So now I've kind of maxed out what I can do on FUT. I've maxed out the scalp elasticity and all that sort of thing. But I'm already now at, what's that, 8,500 grafts, right? But I've not doing this FUT surgery. I've not taken hair from anywhere except for the core zone, like where they take it from FUT. So now I still have all of my FUE surgeries basically available to me, because I can still take hair like from this area with the FUE surgery, a little bit below that, like right here. There's a lot of areas still, and even around that in the center core area, that I can take with the FUE surgery. So everyone's, let's say they've got another 2 or 3 FUE surgeries of like 3,000 grafts available. So that's another 9,000 grafts. So actually, if I did 3 surgeries of major FUE, let's say 3,000 plus like 2,000. Let's say I do a similar amount of FUE. That's still going to put me at like overall for the course of my entire life. Like that's almost, what is that, like 16,000?
Well, you got 3,000 plus 2,500 because you got to remove the scar.
Yeah.
That's 5,500 grafts plus another maybe 2,000. That's 7,500 grafts.
Yeah.
And then if you get 1,500 to 1,800 per FUE, that's about, because you got to be careful, because you got to have enough to cover. The hair has to cover the scar, so you got to be careful there. So yeah, but I'd say you're in the high 8s to 9 maybe, or something like that.
No,
right?
that's
right.
No, that's way more than that.
Well, you got 3,000, 2,500 is 5,500. Let's say 2,000, 7,500. Yeah, a little higher than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like around close 7,500, 8,000 from FUT, plus another major 3 FUE surgeries. Then you're like, let's say you're another 7,500 from that. So you're already at like close to 15,000.
You got good hair. So.
Yeah, and I mean my donor hair still looks really good. Like, so I feel like I've still got another like 2,500 or so of FUE that I could do. So yeah. Anyway, so that's about it. But the thing is, if you just do FUE, it's gonna be a bit harder, because you're not just taking from that center core, and which is like the strongest, best hair. You have to do it more homogenously to not get that sort of moth-eaten look. Does it make sense, John? That was a long answer. Can you both shave your heads so we can see the density? I have shaved my head, actually. There's no way Steve's gonna shave his head. No, he likes his hair way too much. But I shaved my head in one of my recent videos, I don't know, like about a year and a half ago. So you can go through and see that video where I shaved my head. So,
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so it's here on the channel. I think it's called like I Shaved My Head. Just go through my videos over the last couple of years and you'll see. I think there's like 2 videos where I show that.
I'm afraid to shave my head that it's not going to grow back.
I want to know if there's a public figure hairline you admire and whether you think it's natural. Oh, interesting. What will be yours?
Say that again.
Is there like someone's hairline you really admire?
In regards to transplanted hairline?
Or either one.
Oh yeah, I mean, just about every male model that ever existed, I'm jealous of.
I like Austin Butler.
Is that the guy from the Elvis?
Elvis.
Yeah,
Elvis guy.
him.
Yeah.
He's got a good one. I mean, I'm a Brad Pitt fan. Of all those years. I can't remember all these guys' names now, but all these actors, the soap stars. It goes on and on. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted my hair back, was because it seems to me, and I always sound biased, of course, against the bald guys, the shaved head guys, but it seems to me that these when I say male models, actors, famous people that obviously are like, on all the TMZ and all the covers of all the magazines and all that, they all got great hair. That, am I wrong or am I right? They all got great hair. There's no weakness in their hair. They've got, George Clooney, phenomenal hair. Mark Wahlberg, phenomenal hair. All these guys.
Josh says, how thick do you think your hair is now as compared percentage-wise to your native density before you started losing hair? I would say about 50%. I would say on top, it's around 50%. Some areas of the top of my head, it's maybe a little bit higher than that, and some it's a little bit lower, but it's sort of maybe as an average about 50% of original density on the top of my head.
Yeah, so David's a different generation than me, obviously. I'd say mine's about 35% because I lost a lot of hair when I was young, and my hair changed. Because we didn't have the finasteride and the oral minoxidil back then, my hair literally thinned out. You could possibly call me a diffuse thinner because my hair is so different. So I would say that I have much less of a density because everything's gotten weaker. So I'm actually kind of like a miracle. Like I'm that kid that survived, the plane crash. Like I'm a miracle that I've been able to survive all this. And the main reason that I've survived it is 19 years ago I started finasteride.
Mm-hmm. So Danish says, should you suggest to create a new down type hairline or just conservative hairline at age 26? I'll go with conservative hairline, even though I'm 26. I have no real expectation. I mean, I think it's generally better to at least start with a little bit more conservative hairline because you can always go down, but it's much harder to go back.
Yeah, so that's a good question. You'd be surprised on just a little bit of variation how it can change from aggressive to conservative. In the old days, conservative was literally.
Oh, let's we'll get the lighting's better here. Can we sit here?
Oh, sure.
Oh, it's really bright there. Okay. All right. I was trying to. Yeah, it's really bright there. I was trying to see how the light could come in. Sorry. There you go. No, that's worse. Okay, there you go. You can sit like this.
Let me get a little chair. Hold on a second. I'll be right there.
I'm sorry. Okay, we'll get those answers. And then finasteride and minoxidil lose effectiveness. Will there ever be any more treatments in our lifetime? I mean, what do you see about that, Steve, as far as like them losing effectiveness, finasteride and minoxidil? Because I mean, I'm sure they do to a certain degree for a certain amount of people that have really progressive hair loss genetics, you know? I mean, we're fighting against something that's pretty difficult. But for a lot of guys, I don't feel like they do lose effectiveness. A lot of my friends that have been on it for, again, 5 years or 5 years plus, I'm not seeing that their hair is getting worse, you know?
No, I was on it for about, well, you know, now I'm in the Locklab, but this 19 years, I've had success. What we do sometimes do, and I know we're talking about this at Locklab, is if you've been on it 15 years, you know, and it's not that anything's getting worse, it's just we want to plan potentially if you just are getting older, we'll put a tiny little bit of dutasteride in there. So that's something we're looking at. But for the most part, most patients, you know, everything's been good for a lot of years.
I'm 18 and started treatments like finasteride and minoxidil early before any balding signs, but I'm also scared that the earlier I start, the earlier the efficacy will go down with finasteride. Do not be scared of that. No, that's not the right move at all. Get on right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't live your life in fear like me.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah,
You definitely enjoy your life, enjoy your hair.
It's not a good idea. So yeah, get on. Man, I can't believe that people like that's a thing that like it's that there's like so much education and yet so much bad education going around.
Yeah.
That a guy would be like, I'm scared to start because it's going to lose its efficacy fast. No, start right away.
Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah, you want to keep the hair that you've got starting now. Exotic AB finasteride loses effective. I've been on it since 18. I've lost about a Norwood 1 a day. Norwood 1 a day? I don't understand that. Can you rewrite that? Because that doesn't make sense to me. Okay, Danish, does hair loss slow down after 30 and finasteride efficiency increases as you get old?
So you keep in mind with this, guys. The DHT is the bad agent, right? The DHT is our enemy. We don't need the DHT in our adult male body. It can potentially cause 3 things to happen. One, cause your hair to fall out if you're prone to it, give you acne if you're prone to it, and enlarge your prostate once you're 50 plus if you're prone to it. So when we take out the DHT, all that goes away. So that's what we're working on here. We're trying to get rid of that DHT because it's attacking our hair. Those buddies of yours that have 0 hair loss that you hate because they don't have any hair loss at all, they have the same DHT through their body, they're just not sensitive to it. They may be in 15 years, in 10 years, and they may need Locklab, but for right now, you're sensitive to it, they're not. You have no choice. You have to use finasteride. You have to knock down the DHT. So try not to think about what's gonna happen, what can happen, you know, in the future in 10 years. The fact is, if you don't use this stuff, your hair's gonna fall out, and then you're not gonna be able to go backwards. We just talked about all these companies that are going belly up that were supposed to be my miracle cure for cloning. Okay, my miracle cure. I'm the first in line, by the way, for the cloning and the hair multiplication, and that's poof, it's gone out the window. Thank God I've been on finasteride for the last 19 years. BBC says I'm on 2.5 milligrams dutasteride and 5 milligrams oral minoxidil. I've been losing ground for the past 3 years. Anything else I can possibly do? Same thing with the other patient from Spain. You've got to, make sure you have timestamp photography. Make sure you go visit a hair specialist. Make sure that you listen to everything they say. Get on laser. Look at injectable treatments right now. That I believe the best technology is exosomes, and you're challenging. And sorry, I lost my hair at 18, so I was challenging as well. But you have to, maybe it's a cycle through, but you stay on the medications, keep taking the photos, and add those other treatments.
Does FUT surgery cause tightness in the head? Not typically. No, not if it's done well. It shouldn't.
Now, I've had 2 scalp reductions. That's in my day. That's where they created a Mercedes sign. So they would cut down the center of the scalp and cut down the sides, literally like a Mercedes insignia on the back of your head. That was tight.
Yeah.
And that was painful. And today, I train twice a day in the gym. I don't feel anything. And I've had multiple procedures of FUTs. By the way, I just got a haircut a couple days ago in the back. I've been butchered. So you can see the back of my head.
Oh yeah, you can see it like here.
Down here. That was taken too low. So that was actually too low. But in the old days, whatever, it's the Wild West, man. You take hair wherever you can get it. So other than that area really low, you really can't see anything back there. I healed pretty well. I'm blessed with that. I went bald, so I wasn't blessed with that. But, the reason I wanted you to see that is because I've been cut so many times, you can't really see much back there, and I don't feel like I've ever been cut.
Jay says, I thought the max is 8,000 grafts per person. Yeah, so it really comes down to your individual donor hair and what types of surgeries you get done. So would you say still that you maximize the number of grafts that you can take donor hair wise by doing both FUT and FUE versus just one or the other?
Yeah, so the way you explained it before, I'm not familiar with your specific numbers, David. I'm not, but the way that you maximize your donor, right, is in that center core is where the very best raw material is on everybody's head. Unless you're this pretty heavy set guy with a big head from Iraq, which has like Middle Eastern ridiculously thick hair. Not everybody's like that. The very best hair is in the center core over the occipital bone from ear to ear. So then you take out those strips, and I like to use 3,000 grafts per procedure number 1. This is average. 2,500 grafts for procedure number 2 because we have to remove the existing scar to leave you with just 1. And then let's just be fair and call it 1,800 to 2,000 grafts. So with an FUE procedure for most patients, that's 3,000, 2,500, and let's just say 2,000 because I can add that. So that's 5,500, that's 7,500 grafts right there. Then when you go in and do FUE and take it from plentiful areas, as long as you're not going to diffusely thin it, the potential problem is if you take too much right above the scar zone, then you can't cover that scar. That's a problem. Okay, but David's right. You can take it out of the other zones. And he's had 5 procedures, and 3 of them were FUE. The question is how many grafts per each procedure with FUE?
3 were FUT. Yeah.
Well, you're right. Two procedures with FUE. So let me say this. If you've got strong donor hair, that's very important. If you've got strong donor hair or adequate donor hair, okay, and you have realistic expectations, if you have a bald head, say Norwood 5, you'll be able to get out 5 surgeries, 3 FUTs. A lot of the doctors now only like to do 2 FUTs, but that's for another question, another video. But let's say 3 FUTs, and then it depends on the elasticity of your scalp. They don't want to take risks, okay? And then 2 FUEs. So the numbers are pretty high where you're going to have some pretty decent coverage.
Yep, so that leaves you 3,000, 4,500 is 7,500, plus if you did like the same amount on FUE, if you're able to do that on FUE as well, that leaves you that's like 15,000 grafts. If you're able to get out the same from both of those.
That's someone with very good donor. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have even close to that. I mean, my amount of grafts over the course of my life, I have to tweak these numbers because I had plugs when I was a very, very young guy. So they destroyed a lot of my donors. So I'm probably looking somewhere in the areas of 6,000 grafts.
So BBC says, can you both get your hair wet and show us how your hair looks wet? So I've done a lot of videos on my channel where I show what my hair looks like wet. Actually, on one of the advertisements for Locklab, which video is it? I think it's the juggling one, and I think it's the channel trailer on this channel. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it is. So if you go to the channel trailer, you just go to our channel, Locklab. It's like the video that pops up. It's like the main video. And there's a video of me wetting, like I'm in the shower, like taking a shower in that video. So you can see what my hair looks like wet there. And I've done some other shower videos over the years.
I'll have to do one of those. My hair looks
I always
pretty
love when dudes ask me to jump in the shower and get my hair wet for them.
My hair looks pretty good when it's wet. I'm not going to do it right now. Unfortunately, we're on this call. But I'll tell you what, I'm the first one to point out if I don't think something looks good on me. That's why I go to the gym twice a day. My hair looks pretty good. I think it's mainly because I do have enough grafts now, and my color of my hair and my color of my skin is very similar.
So he says, if you could have trade having facial hair or more head hair, what would you do?
Head hair.
I would go with head hair. Yeah. As someone, I love my facial hair. It's like one of my favorite features of myself. But still, I would way rather like take this off and put it on the top of my head. 100%.
Yeah.
Does smoking cigarettes increase hair loss?
Yeah, it doesn't increase hair loss from a genetic standpoint. It's very bad for you. It's very bad for your circulation. It's more harmful to your circulation in your entire body than a diabetic patient is. So it's not good for the hair follicles and the feeding of the hair, that plentiful blood supply, even though the head is very vascular. So I would tell you all, I've taken personal responsibility and credit for getting many people to completely quit nicotine, not just cigarettes, but that includes vaping. So anybody that's doing any nicotine out there, if you got any hair issues, stop, please.
So Dana says, my surgeon recommends FUT due to my young age, 26. Will I get any tightness in my head? Please, unaware about this. If it's done well, you shouldn't get any tightness in your head. Yeah. Thank you for the answer. So do you suggest second procedure to fill in crown density, or is it better to do SMP? I still have great donor.
So I would always recommend SMP first, but not in very low hairline.
Okay.
Always recommend SMP first, because even if it doesn't do what you want, when you put hair transplants around that SMP will be like permanent powder. And I'm a big makeup fan myself because I've been using it for 25 years.
Does finasteride change hair texture? Experience that my hair became curly after using finasteride.
First I ever heard that.
What shampoo did you mention that you use? Does it have ketoconazole? What do you think of that ingredient? Yeah, the hair guy. So yeah, the Intelligent Shampoo brand is just called Intelligent Shampoo, I'm pretty sure. It does have ketoconazole in it. And to be honest, I'm not like an expert on ketoconazole. I've seen some videos about it on YouTube, just like you probably have. Seems to be something that could potentially help. So I just started using it. I like the shampoo, and that's pretty much it. It doesn't seem like it's hurting, and it might be helping.
And by the way, going back to that other question, David, about the finasteride causing curly to the hair. The one thing I can tell you is the stronger hair is usually wavier and curlier. That's what I've seen. The possibility that finasteride is causing your hair to wave or curl a little is because your hair is getting stronger. So it's not thin and wimpy, it's stronger, and your genetics may be at this age where it's getting a little bit of a curl or a wave to it.
John asks, how can you get 7.5 FUE grafts, 1,000 FUE grafts after you have 3 FUTs? Doesn't FUT remove scalp that has hair? And so there's now less scalp area with hair to extract from. That's true, yes, but it's actually a very thin strip. So it's kind of hard to describe without like a graph, right?
So basically the reason why FUT is the number.
It's kind of like this. I'll just use my fingers maybe. Can I use this? Okay, so let's say that this is let's say that this is your whole head right here. Imagine these fingers, okay? So now that's all the space on my head. Well, okay, so now we're going to remove the center core, which is the space in between my fingers. We're going to remove that and take out the hair. So now we're going to stitch it back together. But still, we've got all of this space to be able to take FUE grafts from. Versus if we had the center core and we didn't take it out, then you'd have this little bit of extra space there to take the FUE grafts from. But with FUE, you can't just take all of the hair. You have to take it like in little dots around the other hair. You can't take all of it. Otherwise, you just literally have a bald strip. So then it's just this weird bald strip. Versus if you can take all of the hair, like 100% of the hair of the best donor hair, and then just stitch it back together. And now you can take FUE around it. Does it make sense? Like.
Yeah, and keep in mind that when you guys are looking into this, right, the FUE sounds like a really sexy procedure. It sounds like a no-brainer. It sounds like something everybody should do. But what you're doing is the whole point of FUE is to do on very small procedures. And when you do that, because you spread out the scarring, because you want to be able to shave your head and not see the scarring, at least not easy. So when you do that, you're taking hair from the center core, which is excellent hair, but not a lot. And you're taking hair from outside the center core, which is less quality hair. So you're paying more money for less quality hair, and you're diffusely thinning, meaning like a moth-eaten look, not on the first surgery, but if you're not careful. So FUE, again, and I sound like a broken record, I don't care, I mean, that I'm saying it over and over, I'm happy to do it. But it's that it should be used for very small procedures, or for those like David that had a lot of hair loss but has really good donor hair. If I started with FUE, I would have never made it to this point. Thank God I started with FUT, because that allowed me, and I ran out of money, so I wore a wig on my head, and that preserved my donor. So now I'm able to kind of get some coverage, which I'm very pleased with.
Oh my God. So Mr. Rolandis, John says, Mr. Rolandis started very bald and with 6,500 grafts has good density. Why do you think you needed 10 to 13,000? Did your surgeries have a lower survival rate? I think there could be a couple of reasons behind this. When you say he has very good density, I mean, I've seen Rolandis's hair, and I mean, it looks good, but it's still the illusion of density. It's still a hair transplant, and still there's some areas where it's like it's definitely not very thick. You know, even just looking at it, even with the illusion of density. So that's one thing. It could be the size of Rolandis's head. I don't know. Everyone's head is shaped differently, and they have a different amount of space to cover on the top of their head. It could be his hairline and how far down he got it, and how much of the temporal peaks were worked on, and how much of that work that he needed. It could be also, I have way darker hair than Rolandis does. He has much lighter hair. So there's obviously going to be like dark hair on light skin shows more thinness.
It's a contrast.
Like it's a contrast. And so, yeah, lighter hair, like for instance, if I had all white hair, I wouldn't, because I have light skin. Someone like Joe Biden doesn't have much hair, but yet he doesn't look bald because his hair is really white and it's on white skin.
Right.
And so it's not very obvious that how incredibly thin his hair is. So I don't know, it could just come down to a lot of those different things, you know. Also, I got off of finasteride, which is my own mistake, and you know, I shouldn't have done that, for like 3 or 4 years, and so I lost some more hair during that time. And Rolandis has been much smarter in that he stayed on finasteride, but also he had much more information to go off of than I did at my time. Can you pull your pants down so we can see finasteride hasn't affected you guys?
I didn't have a real. I'm not really that well down there built, so it's going to be misleading.
Yeah. So you might think finasteride has affected him. How long before I see results on oral minoxidil? It usually takes about 3 months. What's the difference between finasteride versus dutasteride? I'm 54 and just losing hair the last year. Still just a small amount on the right temple only. Let's Get Hair has a great video on this, showing the difference between finasteride and dutasteride, the Let's Get Hair channel, my friend Matt Dominance. But basically, from what our experience, finasteride should be the first choice for most men. Especially, it sounds like for you, you're just having a very little bit of hair loss and it's not very super aggressive, and you're 54, you should get on finasteride. And oral minoxidil, the combo pill, if you're in the US, highly recommend that. 5 months ago, I did FUE 4,000 grafts, but my hairline is crazy high. I want to get it 2 centimeters lower. How long do I have to wait? Generally, a year you should wait between surgeries, right?
Yeah, for FUE you can go a little less. You can do 9 months or so. So, I mean, just be patient. You know, try to get used to it. The good news is you're not saying the opposite. You're not saying it was done too low and now I want it extracted or whatever. So, yeah, you can do that anywhere from 9 months to a year.
This person, the name of their channel is David and Steve Saved My Bald Head.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, happy to help.
Fantastic.
Here's Life Says, can we see you guys, peepees? Oh my God. Given your hair is now 50% density, would you say your hair is still see-through in certain conditions? For example, harsh sunlight on the beach or harsh studio lights? Yes, in my crown. If I use no concealer with bad lighting, yes, my crown is, there's definitely, you can see through to my scalp.
And keep in mind, this is all about the presentation, right? Hair transplants is an illusion. And we both know that very well. And that's why we're greedy and we want more hair transplants.
With age, my brothers and I have lost thickness on our eyebrows. By taking oral finasteride minoxidil biotin for 2 years, my eyebrows, eyelashes, and scalp hair have gotten thicker and stronger.
Congratulations.
Awesome, man. It's definitely been helping me too. Are you taking collagen or biotin before and or now? I take biotin 1 milligram. It's in Locklab, the pill that we sell. It also contains 1 milligram biotin. Before and after pics. Here is David. This is Ali. Oh, Ali. Okay, I met Ali yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ali was the day before yesterday. I came into the office and Ali got a hair transplant with Dr. McGrath, and it was just so cool to meet him in person. So, David, Ali, it was great. Pleasure to meet you in person. Dr. McGrath's office the other day. You and Steve are awesome, and thanks for all.
Thank you so much, Ali. You look fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, Ali. You're looking good, man.
We're gonna get him on these videos.
Yeah, Ollie's going to do a video with us. So he wants to let his latest hair transplant grow in, and then he wants to get on.
Great success story.
Jason says, thanks for being honest. You're welcome. Gary, oh, that's a very good point about Mr. Rolando's having a small ass head. Didn't think of that. That's funny. All right. So thank you too. I'm reading all the thank yous, and you're welcome. Yeah, if I was going to get another hair transplant, I would do 2 spots. I would do right here, and you can even see kind of with the light there, with this light coming in, my hair is like thinner on this side. You can kind of see there with the light. So I would get some put right there. That's the thinnest spot in my hairline. And then I would get my crown. I would get some right here in my crown too. That's what I would do.
I wouldn't do anything because I'm perfect. I'm just kidding. Trust me, I'm just kidding. I'm far from perfect.
The hair transplant, where can your hair be improved? Yeah, so my crown and that spot would probably be the 2 main spots. Maybe there's like a little bit thinner right there. So John, do you have general advice on pursuing creative industries? It seems like you've made some good money in it, but these industries are high risk and there's a lot of broke artists out there, unfortunately. So that's not actually my experience. I know everyone thinks, oh, there's a lot of broke artists. You know, I run a pretty major entertainment agency, and I book artists on cruise ships as headline entertainers all over the world. And I've booked, I think it's close to $10 million worth of contracts for artists that I work with at this point. I've also performed myself professionally for my whole life. It's my main source of income. My whole life is performing and entertaining people. And also worked in Nashville, and I live in Nashville and work with a lot of incredible musicians and artists. And I always hear, oh, it's so hard as a musician to make a living. You know, it's such a difficult industry, all this stuff. Actually, no one that I know that's super talented and also easy to work with and works really hard and has a lot of skills is not making good money. Like it's difficult for me to find really talented people to hire for my agency because all the talented people are already busy and booked and making great money and have great jobs.
Plenty of business.
You know, there's plenty of business. So one of the things that I have a hard time finding for my agency, because I book on cruise ships, is piano vocalists. So it means people that play piano by themselves and sing. And I'm telling you, if I had 10 more great piano vocalists right now that could call me up and they knew how to sing cover songs really well while they played piano, I could book all of them, making... I book a lot of different cruise lines, and they generally make around, after tips, about $2,500 a week. So, and around $2,000 to $2,500 a week. So that's like, $8 to $10 grand a month for the artist. So if you can play piano well and sing well by yourself, you can make 8 to 10 grand plus all expenses paid, traveling all over the world, performing. Like, that's amazing, right? That's a really great living.
It's awesome.
And doing something that's really fun. And I can't find enough people that can
bet.
do
I
it.
bet.
Even guitar vocalists, they make on Royal Caribbean, I booked them. They make around $1,000 a week plus tips, and I can't find enough guitar vocalists to book for all the spots that are available. Yeah. So it's like, if people that are good, you just have to be really good, easy to work with, and willing to learn. And I've been performing my whole life. I've never had trouble getting work. I always have more work than I even want to do, you know? So, all right, that was kind of a transient, but I hope it was helpful. What are your thoughts on the companies like Hair Club and Bosley for hair transplantation?
I know, well, number one, Bosley does all the work, the hair transplants for Hair Club. So they're owned by Adirans, so they're all one company. They're very well managed. A lot of those guys are my friends. I will be full disclosure. A lot of the doctors are awesome doctors. I have a doctor, a personal friend of mine who's an awesome hair transplant doctor in Columbus and Cincinnati. I would say that if you make sure you still explore that doctor, because I don't know all of them, but the company stands behind the work. They do good work. They're a little bit of a sales organization, so it's very salesy. Once you get on the email list, they'll constantly hammer you. It's not my style, but one of the things Bosley does is that's all they do is hair transplants. So I'd rather see you go to Bosley than go to some plastic surgeon that bought an FUE machine.
So, asked, is this our natural hair color? It is my natural hair color, Steve. It's not your natural hair color.
No,
I think,
I'm
right?
pretty gray. I'm pretty white. Actually, my hair would look much thicker if I let it go natural, which is gray. Gray makes me look older. Don't like that. Guess I'm normal with that. You can see it in my beard a little bit. I can get that gray in my hair. So I color my hair. I have been for years, but I also went gray.
I'm starting to get gray. I don't know if you guys can see. I'm starting to get like gray hair over there, though.
I mean, I was gray. I was gray when I was losing my hair at 18. That is insane. And I remember wearing the wigs. Wearing the wigs, they had to match my gray. They had to color the gray to match the wig color of the blonde. So I've been through it all. But yeah, I color my hair. I like it colored.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be gray.
So I'm on 2.5 milligrams oral minoxidil about a year. If I kicked it up to 5 milligrams now, would I get another boost? Possibly. So I would give it, if I was you, I'm not a doctor, but if I was you, that's what I would do. That's what I take. I take 5 milligrams. So we seem to see people have really great results with 5 milligrams. Follow up, I begged my doc for help. She started me on 1/4 tablet of minoxidil a few weeks ago. Should I ask for finasteride, also both medications? I mean, so what we've seen the most consistent results with is 5 milligrams oral minoxidil, 1.1 milligrams or 1 milligram finasteride per day. That's what we put in Locklab, because that's where we're just seeing the most consistent results with. So that's what I think we'd probably recommend, whether you get it through Locklab or you just buy the individual ingredients. That's what we've seen the most consistent results with. So. What about actors, David? Would you say what you said about musicians also applies with them, or do you not know the acting scene as much? I don't know the acting scene. I know the comedy scene because I've worked a lot in comedy as well, and I don't know any good comedians that are not working and don't have plenty of work. So if you're a good comedian, like, you can make a great living. As far as acting goes, I don't know that many actors well. It's not like, 'cause I'm more of a musician and a comedian. I perform on cruise ships and stuff like that. So I can't really say that well. But even so, okay, I'll give you another thing, like videography. Every videographer I know who's good at videography makes great money, like really good money. So I think if you are interested in just film in general, whether you're going to learn videography, writing, producing, directing, acting, all those things, when you have enough skills and to lend to a team, generally you can find good ways to make really good money. I just find in general, people that are able to deliver on something that is valuable make great money.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. So, yeah. If you can deliver in a valuable way. What shampoo and conditioner do you like that can be bought in stores? I don't know. I just use the Intelligent shampoo, not associated with them, but I like their stuff. But you have to buy it online. Once again, I've never had anyone help with questions before. Thank you guys for helping. It's appreciated. Oh, you're welcome, Gary.
You're welcome.
All right, well, the sun's going down, guys. Here's Steve's pool, his new pool out there, looking good. But you can see the sun is going down. So we're going to just, we've been on here for over an hour and 10 minutes.
It's been great.
Yeah, thanks for asking so many great questions. It's really nice to chat with you all. Okay, last question, John. Why do you think FUT is essentially only in North America now and Europe?
So let me chime in.
South America and Asia is 90% FUE.
So just so you guys know, and this is not biased, I want to say this. I know you trust me and you've seen me, and David and I have been doing this a long time. A real hair transplant specialist, a real hair transplant surgeon needs...
Even Dr. Hassan from Hassan and Wong said he's now stopped doing FUT.
Yeah, well, I don't have any idea why he's doing that, but you need to be trained to do both procedures, and and FUT is hard to do. So I'm not saying these doctors are lazy because I don't have a medical license, but if I were a doctor, I need to go through a fellowship to learn how to do FUT in case it's necessary. So I'm not biased to do FUE on everyone. If I decide to close like Dr. Hassan, and it's probably more money in it for him. He's getting older and he's probably starting to ride off into the sunset. I shouldn't have said that, but I don't know if that's true. But there's more money in FUE. FUE requires less staff, so it's less overhead. FUE is a win-win for everybody in the business, including the machine companies and the parts they sell us. So everybody's moving toward FUE because they make more money. I never care about money. David will tell you that it's all about you. It's all about delivering the very best experience and the very best result. FUT is the gold standard because of the quality of the hair, and you can get more of it at one time. And oh yeah, by the way, it's a lesser price. But the answer to finish where I started, doctors that only do FUE and that were never trained and never took time out of their lives after getting out of medical school and their residencies to learn how to do FUT properly. Dr. McGrath took 18 months out of his life and made no money to go through a fellowship to learn how to properly do FUT. That is a real hair transplant specialist, and he does both procedures. I'm not just biased toward him. I'm leaning toward anybody in the country. The reason why these other places don't do it is because they're 20 years behind us. So the FUE is so easy to sell and so sexy to sell. Why not just do that? Does that make sense?
It's like Dr. Lane, who's now working with Dr. McGrath, is learning how to do FUT. And if it wasn't a useful procedure that delivered excellent results for clients, like why would this surgeon be spending all of this time to learn how to do this surgery? It wouldn't make any sense, right?
Because Dr. McGrath's clinic with his now physicians is all about doing the right thing for the patient, not about the business. That's why he doesn't do high volume procedures, which he could easily do every day. So if you want to do high volume FUE, I don't mention any other names. You guys know that. There's one in Chicago that spends about $130,000 on billboards up in Chicago, and they only will do FUE. Well, guess what? The founder and doctor, who's a personal friend of mine, that started that business, he's no longer there, was one of the best FUT doctors ever in the country. His name is Dr. Katona. And his business partners that now have the business, and they're there on the videos with their beautiful wives talking about their wonderful FUE procedures. That's all they do. Yeah. They have strips in the back of their heads. Yeah. So I see that as a conflict of interest. I'm not denying their opportunity to make money, okay, and to deliver good FUE procedures. But if FUE was as great as everybody in Europe and South America say, why would anybody ever do another FUT?
Yeah, why would doctors even do it? It doesn't make sense. All right, well, my phone's about to die and I'm hungry, but we love you guys. Thanks for asking the great questions again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, make sure to ring the notification bell so you'll be notified next time we go live, and wishing you and your hair all the success in the world.